Sergio Ramos to Manchester United. Is this really happening? Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for everything Manchester United. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel where we break down all the latest news, transfer rumors, and match analysis. We're here every single day bringing you honest, no-nonsense coverage of our beloved club. Today we're talking about something that has set the internet on fire. Sergio Ramos. Manchester United. Two names that have been linked together before, and now they're back in the headlines. But is there any truth to this story? Should we get excited? Should we be worried? Let's break it all down. The hook, a defender United fans know too well. Picture this. It's 2015. You're sitting in front of your television watching the transfer news scroll across the screen. Sergio Ramos, the legendary Real Madrid captain, might be coming to Old Trafford. Your heart races. This is the kind of signing that changes everything. A world-class defender, a proven winner, a leader who has lifted the Champions League trophy multiple times. But then, like so many transfer sagas before it, the dream dies. Ramos signs a new contract with Real Madrid. United fans are left disappointed once again. Fast forward to today, December 2024. And here we are again. Sergio Ramos and Manchester United in the same sentence. The rumor mill is spinning at full speed. Social media is exploding. Fans are divided. Some are excited. Others are laughing it off. But everyone is talking about it. So what's really going on here? Is this just another case of the media making up stories for clicks? Or is there actually something to this? That's exactly what we're going to figure out together in this deep dive. What we know so far. Let's start with the facts. And I mean the actual facts, not the speculation or the wishful thinking. According to reports from Cadena SER, which is a major Spanish radio station, Manchester United has made a concrete offer to Sergio Ramos. The offer is reportedly for a contract until the end of the current season. That means a 6-month deal that would take us through to the summer of 2025. Now, who is Sergio Ramos right now? Let's be clear about this. He's not the same player who was dominating forwards at Real Madrid 5 years ago. He's 39 years old. He'll be turning 40 in March 2025. That's not young for a footballer. In fact, that's ancient by football standards. Ramos left his last club, CF Monterrey in Mexico, back in November 2024. He's currently a free agent. He doesn't have a team. He's training on his own, staying fit, waiting for the right opportunity to come along. But here's the thing that makes this story interesting. Ramos himself has said he's not ready to retire. He believes he still has something to offer at the highest level. And his ultimate goal? He wants to make it to the 2026 World Cup with Spain. At 40 years old. That's ambition right there. Why would Manchester United even consider this? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why on earth would Manchester United, a club trying to rebuild and get back to the top, consider signing a 39-year-old defender? Let's look at the situation United find themselves in right now. The defensive crisis. Manchester United's defense has been nothing short of a disaster this season. I'm not being dramatic here. The numbers tell the story. In 15 Premier League games, United has kept just one clean sheet. 1. That's embarrassing for a club of United stature. They've conceded 22 goals already. That's way too many. For context, that's more goals conceded than some teams fighting relegation. United are 6th in the table, but it could easily be worse if not for some individual brilliance going forward. Under Ruben Amorim, the new manager who came in to stabilize things, the defense is still struggling to find consistency. Every game feels like we might concede 2 or 3 goals. Clean sheets feel like a distant memory. Lisandro Martinez has been injured. Harry Maguire has had his ups and downs. Victor Lindelof is not getting any younger. Rafael Varane left the club. The defensive situation is genuinely concerning. The leadership void. But it's not just about defensive quality. It's about leadership too. Who are the real leaders in this Manchester United squad? Bruno Fernandes wears the armband, but he's a midfielder. Who's organizing that backline? Who's shouting instructions when things get chaotic? Who's grabbing teammates by the shirt and demanding better? This is where someone like Sergio Ramos could, in theory, make a difference. Love him or hate him, and plenty of people hate him, the man is a born leader. He's captained Real Madrid. He's won everything there is to win in football. 4 Champions League titles. Multiple La Liga titles. A World Cup. A European Championship. He knows what it takes to win. He knows how to organize a defense. He knows how to handle pressure. These are things United desperately need right now. The financial angle. Here's another interesting part of the story. According to the reports, Ramos isn't demanding a huge salary. He's not asking for the kind of money he was earning at Real Madrid or even at PSG. He's apparently willing to take a reasonable deal just to play football at a high level again. For United, this could be attractive. They've spent massive amounts on transfers in recent years. Many of those signings haven't worked out. If they could bring in someone like Ramos on a short-term deal with modest wages, it's low risk. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, he's gone in 6 months anyway. No long-term commitment. No massive transfer fee. Just a short-term solution to help get through the season while younger players develop. The case for signing Ramos. Let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's imagine you're someone at Manchester United making this decision. What would be the arguments in favour of bringing Sergio Ramos to Old Trafford? Experience at the highest level. Sergio Ramos has played in huge games. Champions League finals. World Cup finals. El Clasico matches watched by hundreds of millions of people. He doesn't get nervous. He doesn't crumble under pressure. In fact, he seems to thrive in those moments. Remember his goal in the 2014 Champions League final? Real Madrid were losing to Atletico Madrid in the dying minutes. Ramos rose highest and headed home the equalizer. Real Madrid went on to win in extra time. That's the kind of player he is. United need players who have been there and done that. Players who can show the younger guys what it takes. Players who won't panic when things get tough. Defensive intelligence. Age takes away your pace. It takes away your physical power. But it doesn't take away your brain. Ramos might not be able to run as fast as he used to, but he can still read the game better than most defenders half his age. He knows where to position himself. He knows when to step up and when to drop back. He knows how to organize a defensive line. These are skills that come from playing thousands of professional matches over 2 decades. In the modern game, especially in the Premier League, pace is important. But intelligence is just as important. If Ramos can use his experience to be in the right place at the right time, he might not need to be the fastest player on the pitch. Leadership and mentality. This might actually be the most important thing Ramos could bring. Not his defending. Not his experience. But his mentality. Manchester United have become a soft team in recent years. When things go wrong, heads drop. When the pressure is on, players hide. The team lacks that nasty edge, that refusal to be beaten, that fighting spirit. Ramos has that spirit in abundance. Some people call him dirty. Some people call him a winner. Probably both things are true. But what's undeniable is that he hates losing more than almost any player in world football. That attitude can be infectious. If the younger players at United train with Ramos every day, if they see how seriously he takes every single moment, if they learn from his standards and his expectations, that could have a lasting impact long after he's gone. Short-term solution. United have some good young defenders. Lenier Yoro was signed from Lille and has huge potential. But he's still young. He's still learning. He's still adapting to English football. Having someone like Ramos around for 6 months could help bridge the gap. He could play some games. He could mentor the younger players. He could provide cover when there are injuries. Then, at the end of the season, United could reassess and move forward with their long-term plans. It's not about building the team around a 39-year-old. It's about using his experience to help get through a difficult period. The marketing angle. Let's be honest about this too. Sergio Ramos is a massive name. He has millions of followers on social media. He's one of the most recognizable footballers on the planet. Signing him would generate enormous publicity for Manchester United. Shirt sales would spike. Engagement on social media would go through the roof. It would be a statement signing that shows United are thinking differently. Now, I'm not saying this should be the main reason to sign him. Football decisions should be made for football reasons. But in the modern game, commercial considerations matter. Clubs are businesses. And Ramos would be good for business. The case against signing Ramos. Now let's flip it around. What are the reasons United should absolutely not do this? He's nearly 40 years old. This is the obvious one. Sergio Ramos is 39 years old. He'll be 40 in March. That's not just old for a footballer. That's ancient. The Premier League is the most physically demanding league in the world. The pace is relentless. Teams press high. Games are end-to-end. Players need to cover huge distances every single match. Can a 39-year-old defender really handle that? Can he play twice a week when the fixtures pile up? Can he recover quickly enough between games? Even if Ramos is in great shape for his age, and by all accounts he is, there's no escaping biology. The body breaks down. Injuries become more common. Recovery takes longer. His recent career path. Let's talk about where Ramos has been playing recently. After leaving Real Madrid, he went to PSG. That move didn't really work out the way anyone hoped. He had injury problems. He struggled to establish himself. It was fine, but it wasn't vintage Ramos. Then he went to Sevilla for a brief return to his boyhood club. Again, it was okay but nothing special. Most recently, he went to Mexico to play for Monterrey. Now, no disrespect to Mexican football, but it's not the same level as the Premier League. It's not even close. If Ramos struggled to make an impact at PSG, how is he going to handle the intensity of Manchester United versus Liverpool on a cold Tuesday night? The trajectory of his career in recent years hasn't been upward. It's been downward. That's natural at his age, but it's also a warning sign. United's strategy should be about youth. Manchester United have been making a conscious effort to get younger. They've signed players like Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount when he was younger at Chelsea, and Lainery Euro. The strategy seems to be about building for the future, not desperately grabbing at the past. Signing Ramos would go against that strategy. It would feel like a panic move. A desperate attempt to fix problems with a quick solution rather than doing the hard work of developing young players. What message does it send to someone like Euro if United bring in a 39-year-old ahead of him? What does it say about the club's faith in its young defenders? There's an argument that this could actually hurt United's development strategy rather than help it. The injury risk. Older players get injured more often. That's just a fact. And when they get injured, they take longer to come back. If United sign Ramos and he gets injured in his second game, what have they gained? Nothing. They've just created a media circus and distraction for no benefit. The risk-reward calculation here is tricky. Yes, he might bring experience and leadership, but he might also spend half the season on the treatment table. The ego and drama. Sergio Ramos is not a quiet, humble player who just gets on with his job. He's got a huge personality. He's confident. He's outspoken. He's used to being the main man. How would he fit into the Manchester United dressing room? Would he clash with Bruno Fernandes over leadership? Would he undermine Ruben Amorim if he doesn't agree with tactical decisions? Big personalities can be great when things are going well. But when things go badly, they can create problems. United have had enough dressing room drama in recent years. They don't need more. What about the actual football? Here's the thing nobody really wants to say out loud. Based on pure football ability right now, is Sergio Ramos actually better than what Manchester United already have? Is he clearly better than Harry Maguire? Is he clearly better than Lisandro Martinez when fit? Is he clearly better than Victor Lindelof? Maybe. Maybe not. It's not obvious. And if it's not obvious, then what's the point? If you're going to create all this noise and drama by signing Ramos, he needs to be a clear upgrade. If he's just another option at a similar level to what United already have, then it's just a distraction. What does Ruben Amorim think? This is crucial. Ruben Amorim is the manager. He's the one who picks the team. He's the one who has to make this work if it happens. According to the reports, Amorim would welcome the signing. He sees value in having an experienced leader who can help stabilize the defense. Amorim is still new to Manchester United. He came in from Sporting Lisbon with big expectations. The team has shown some improvement under him, but the defensive issues remain. He needs help. He needs solutions. If Amorim genuinely believes Ramos can help him, that carries weight. Managers know what they need better than fans or journalists or anyone else. But here's the question. Is Amorim asking for Ramos? Or is this idea coming from somewhere else in the club? That matters. If Amorim specifically wants Ramos, you have to back your manager. But if this is being pushed on him by people above, that's different. That's interference. That's how you create problems. The history between Ramos and United. This isn't the first time these two have danced around each other. Back in 2015, there was a serious possibility of Ramos joining Manchester United. At the time, United were managed by Louis van Gaal. The team needed defensive reinforcements. Ramos was apparently unhappy at Real Madrid over contract negotiations. Everything seemed to be lining up. Ramos himself later confirmed that the interest was real. He said he was genuinely considering the move. Negotiations happened. Discussions took place. It wasn't just media speculation. But in the end, Ramos used United's interest as leverage to get a better contract from Real Madrid. He signed a new deal and stayed. United missed out. Does that history matter now? Should United be wary of being used again? Or is this a completely different situation because Ramos is now a free agent with nothing to negotiate? It's worth remembering. Ramos has form for using big clubs to get what he wants. United need to be smart about this. What do United fans think? The fan reaction to this rumor has been all over the place. Some fans are excited. Some are horrified. Most are just confused. On social media, you can find every possible opinion. Some people are posting pictures of Ramos in a United shirt that they photoshopped. Others are posting laughing emojis. Some are writing long threads about why this makes sense. Others are writing equally long threads about why it's insane. The United fanbase has been through so much in recent years. So many disappointing signings. So many false dawns. So many rumors that led nowhere. There's a weariness to the reaction. A sense of here we go again. Another saga. Another distraction. Another thing to argue about online while the team struggles on the pitch. What's clear is that nobody is neutral about this. Sergio Ramos is too big a name, too controversial a figure, for anyone to not have an opinion. The Champions League angle. One thing worth considering is that Manchester United are heavily involved in the Champions League race. They're currently 6th in the Premier League, fighting for a top 4 spot. Making the Champions League is crucial for United. It's not just about the prestige. It's about the money. It's about being able to attract better players in future transfer windows. It's about everything. If Amorim genuinely believes that Ramos can help United secure Champions League qualification, that changes the calculation. A short-term solution that gets United into the top 4 might be worth it, even if it's not perfect. The question is whether the risk is worth the potential reward. If Ramos helps United finish 4th and qualify for the Champions League, everyone will say it was a brilliant move. If he gets injured or struggles and United miss out anyway, everyone will say it was a stupid gamble. Comparing to other veteran signings. Let's look at some similar situations from recent years. Other times when big clubs signed veteran defenders on short-term deals. Thiago Silva joined Chelsea at 36 years old. Everyone said he was too old. He was brilliant for them for several seasons. He became a key player, a leader, and helped them win the Champions League. Pepe played for Porto into his late 30s and was excellent. He moved to different clubs and continued performing at a high level. But then you have examples like Dani Alves going to Sao Paulo and Barcelona for short spells that didn't really work out. Or David Luiz at Arsenal struggling in his final years. It can go either way. The player's mentality matters. The club's situation matters. The role they're asked to play matters. Ramos is not the first aging defender to be linked with a big move. He won't be the last. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. What about the World Cup dream? Ramos has made it clear that he wants to play in the 2026 World Cup. At 40 years old, that would be an incredible achievement. But it's also a tall order. For Ramos to make the Spain squad, he needs to be playing regularly at a high level. He needs to be fit. He needs to be performing well enough that the Spain manager can't ignore him. Playing for Manchester United in the Premier League would certainly help his case more than playing in Mexico or Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. The Premier League is where the world watches. If Ramos can show he can still do it in England, Spain will take notice. But is that a good reason for United to sign him? Should United's decision be influenced by what Ramos wants for his international career? Probably not. United need to make decisions based on what's best for Manchester United. If those decisions happen to help Ramos reach his World Cup dream, that's nice. But it can't be the priority. The tactical fit. Let's talk about tactics for a minute. How would Ramos actually fit into Ruben Amorim's system? Amorim typically uses a back 3 formation. He did it successfully at Sporting Lisbon. He's been trying to implement it at United, though it's taking time. In a back 3, you need defenders who are comfortable on the ball. You need defenders who can step forward with the ball. You need defenders who can cover for each other when one pushes up. Ramos has always been good on the ball for a defender. He's comfortable bringing the ball out from the back. He's not afraid to step into midfield. These are skills that would suit Amorim's system. But in a back 3, you also need pace to recover when things break down. You need to be able to cover a lot of ground. This is where Ramos might struggle at his age. The tactical fit is not obvious. It could work. It could also expose his weaknesses. What happens next? So where does this story go from here? What should United fans expect in the coming days and weeks? Right now, this is still just a rumor. There's a report from Spain saying United have made an offer. Ramos is considering his options. Nothing is confirmed. Nothing is agreed. In the coming days, we'll probably hear more. Either the story will gather momentum, with more sources confirming the details, Or it will fizzle out, with United denying interest or Ramos choosing a different club. The January transfer window opens soon. That's when things will become concrete. If United are serious about this, we'll know soon enough. My advice to United fans? Don't get too invested either way. Don't get your hopes up if you want it to happen. Don't get too angry if you think it's a terrible idea. Just wait and see what actually happens. We've been burned by transfer rumors too many times to count. This might be real. It might be nothing. We'll find out soon. The bigger picture for United. Stepping back from the Ramos situation for a moment, let's look at the bigger picture. What does this rumor tell us about Manchester United right now? It tells us that United are still looking for quick fixes. Still looking for shortcuts. Still hoping that signing a big name will solve deep problems. The truth is, United's issues go way beyond defensive personnel. The club needs better recruitment. It needs better coaching. It needs better structure from top to bottom. Signing Sergio Ramos doesn't fix any of that. At best, it's a band-aid on a wound that needs surgery. United need to be patient. They need to trust their young players. They need to give Ruben Amorim time to build something sustainable. They need to resist the temptation to panic and make desperate moves. But that's hard to do when you're sixth in the table and the fans are getting restless. It's hard to be patient when every game feels like a crisis. It's hard to trust the process when the process hasn't worked for years. This is the dilemma United face. And signing or not signing Ramos is just one small part of it. Could this actually work? Let's imagine, just for a moment, that this happens. Sergio Ramos signs for Manchester United in January on a 6-month deal. What would success look like? Success would be Ramos playing 15 to 20 games between January and May. He helps organize the defense. United start keeping more clean sheets. The team becomes harder to beat. They climb the table and finish in the top 4. Meanwhile, Ramos mentors the younger defenders. He trains with intensity every day. He shows them what professional standards look like. He helps create a winning culture in the dressing room. Then, at the end of the season, Ramos moves on. Maybe he goes back to Spain. Maybe he retires. But he leaves United in a better place than he found them. The younger players have learned from him. The team has momentum. The club moves forward. That's the best-case scenario. It's possible. Stranger things have happened in football. But it requires everything to go right. Ramos needs to stay fit. He needs to adapt quickly. He needs to accept a supporting role rather than being the main man. The younger players need to respond positively. The fans need to get behind it. A lot of things need to go right. And in Manchester United's recent history, things have had a habit of going wrong. The alternative options. If United decide not to sign Ramos, what are their other options? They could look at other experienced defenders who are available. Maybe someone younger than Ramos but still with plenty of experience. Someone who could provide short-term help without the same level of risk. They could promote from within. United have young defenders in the academy. Maybe one of them is ready for more opportunities. It's not as exciting as signing a big name, but it might be smarter for the long term. They could just stick with what they have. Work on the coaching. Work on the organization. Help the current defenders improve rather than bringing in someone new. Or they could wait until the summer and make a bigger, more strategic signing. Someone younger who can be part of the solution for years, not just months. All of these options have pros and cons. None of them are perfect. But that's the reality of where United find themselves right now. What would other clubs do? It's interesting to think about how other top clubs would handle this situation. Would Liverpool sign a 39-year-old defender? Probably not. They'd trust their system and their coaching to get the best out of the players they have. Would Manchester City do it? Maybe if Pep Guardiola specifically wanted him and had a clear plan for how to use him. But more likely they'd just buy a younger player for a huge fee. Would Arsenal do it? Under Mikel Arteta? Probably not. He's been building a young, energetic team. Signing Ramos would go against that philosophy. The point is, different clubs have different ways of operating. United need to figure out their identity. What kind of club are they? What's their strategy? What's their philosophy? Right now, it feels like United don't really know. They're just reacting to problems as they arise rather than following a clear plan. That's a bigger issue than whether or not to sign Sergio Ramos. The media's role in all this. Let's talk about the media for a second. Because the media love this story. It has everything they want. A big name. A big club. Controversy. Debate. Sports media in general, and football media specifically, thrive on transfer rumors. Even when there's nothing concrete happening, They need content. They need clicks. They need engagement. So stories get exaggerated. Small bits of information get blown up into major sagas. Quotes get taken out of context. Speculation gets presented as fact. I'm not saying this Ramos story is completely made up. The initial report from Cadena SER is probably based on something real. But as the story gets passed around, it changes. Details get added. People hear what they want to hear. As fans, we need to be smart about this. We need to wait for confirmation from reliable sources. We need to question what we read. We need to not get swept up in the hype. That's easier said than done when social media is full of people arguing about it 24 hours a day. But it's important to try. The financial fair play consideration. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough in these discussions. Financial fair play and financial sustainability. Manchester United have spent enormous amounts of money in recent years. They need to be careful about their spending. They need to balance the books. Signing Ramos on a short-term deal with modest wages would barely register in terms of FFP. The impact would be minimal. That's actually a point in favor of doing it. Compare that to spending £50 or £60 million on a younger defender who might not work out. The Ramos option is much lower risk financially. Of course, financial considerations shouldn't be the only thing driving football decisions. But they matter. And in this case, they might actually make the Ramos option more attractive than it first appears. What the bookmakers think. If you want to know what the smart money thinks, look at the betting odds. Bookmakers are pretty good at assessing the probability of these things actually happening. Right now, the odds on Ramos joining United in January are not particularly short. Most bookies have it as an outside possibility rather than a strong likelihood. That tells you something. The people whose job it is to assess these situations don't think it's very likely to happen. They think there's smoke but probably not much fire. Of course, bookmakers get things wrong sometimes. But they're usually pretty reliable indicators of what's actually probable versus what's just media speculation. Learning from past mistakes. Manchester United have made so many transfer mistakes in recent years. It's worth looking at what went wrong in the past so we can avoid repeating those mistakes. Bastian Schweinsteiger. United signed him from Bayern Munich when he was past his prime. It didn't work out. He barely played and left after a difficult couple of years. Radamel Falcao. Signed on loan when he was coming back from injury. It was a disaster. He looked a shadow of his former self. Edinson Cavani. Actually, this one worked quite well for a season. He brought experience and goals. But by the second season, he wanted to leave and wasn't committed. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This one actually worked pretty well too. He scored goals and brought winning mentality. But he also picked up a serious injury. The pattern with veteran signings is mixed. Sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't. There's no guarantee either way. What's clear is that United need to be smart about it. They need to have realistic expectations. They need to have a clear plan for how the player fits in and what role they'll play. The dressing room dynamics. Let's think about the human side of this for a moment. If Ramos joins, how does he fit into the existing dressing room? Bruno Fernandes is the captain. How does he feel about a legendary defender joining who has captained Real Madrid and Spain? Does he feel threatened? Does he welcome it? The other defenders like Martinez and Maguire. How do they react to a 39-year-old coming in who might take their place? Do they learn from him? Or do they resent him? The younger players like Euro. Do they see Ramos as a mentor figure to learn from? Or do they see him as blocking their path to the first team? These dynamics matter. A dressing room can turn toxic quickly if personalities clash. Alternatively, the right personality can galvanize a group and bring everyone together. Ramos is a strong personality. That could be exactly what United need. Or it could create problems. It depends on how it's managed. The physical demands of the Premier League. I want to really emphasize this point because I think it's crucial. The Premier League is brutal on the body. Teams play more games than in other leagues. The schedule is relentless over Christmas. There's less of a winter break. The pitches are harder. The weather is rougher. The physicality is intense. Even young players struggle with it sometimes. Players coming from other leagues often talk about how they need time to adapt to the intensity. Now imagine being 39 years old and trying to handle that. Playing against young, fast, aggressive forwards twice a week. Recovering between games. Staying fit. Avoiding injuries. It's not impossible. Players like Thiago Silva have done it. But it's rare. And there's no guarantee that Ramos's body can handle it at this stage of his career. This is probably the single biggest concern with this potential signing. Not his ability. Not his mentality. But whether his body can cope with what the Premier League demands. What this says about United's ambitions. Here's an uncomfortable question. If Manchester United are seriously considering signing a 39-year-old defender, what does that say about where the club is right now? Top clubs don't usually need to do this. Top clubs have enough quality in their squad that they don't need emergency fixes. Top clubs plan ahead and build properly. The fact that United are even having this conversation suggests they're not operating like a top club right now. They're operating like a club in crisis mode, looking for any solution that might help. That's the reality of where United are. They're not competing for the Premier League title. They're fighting to get into the top 4. They're trying to rebuild while also trying to get results. It's a difficult balance. Signing Ramos would be an admission that United need help. That the current squad isn't good enough. That desperate times call for desperate measures. Is that the message United want to send? Or should they project confidence in their current players and their long-term plan? These are hard questions without easy answers. The coaching staff's perspective. We've talked about what Ruben Amorim might think. But what about his coaching staff? What about the other people working with the defenders every day? They're the ones who'll have to integrate Ramos into training. They're the ones who'll have to manage his fitness and his game time. They're the ones who'll have to deal with any issues that arise. Do they want a 39-year-old in the squad? Do they think they can get the best out of him? Do they think it'll help or hinder their work with the younger defenders? These voices matter. If the coaching staff are skeptical, that's a red flag. If they're enthusiastic, that's encouraging. Unfortunately, we don't really know what they think. These conversations happen behind closed doors. But United's decision-makers should absolutely be consulting them. The sponsor and commercial angle. Let's be cynical for a moment. Manchester United is a massive commercial operation. The football is important, but so is the brand. Sergio Ramos is great for the brand. He's marketable. He's got millions of social media followers. He sells shirts. He generates buzz. For United's commercial partners, this signing would be gold. More engagement. More attention. More opportunities for marketing campaigns. Is that influencing United's thinking? It shouldn't be the main factor. But let's not pretend it doesn't matter at all. Modern football is as much about business as it is about sport. Especially at a club like United. The commercial people will have opinions on this. They'll make their voices heard. The football people need to make sure the decision is made for football reasons. But the commercial angle will be part of the conversation whether we like it or not. Comparing Ramos to current United defenders. Let's do a direct comparison. How does Ramos stack up against what United currently have? Harry Maguire is 31 years old. He's slower than he used to be but still experienced. He's good in the air. He can be shaky on the ball under pressure. But he's a known quantity who knows the Premier League inside out. Lisandro Martinez is 26 years old. He's aggressive, good on the ball, and reads the game well. But he's injury-prone and not the tallest defender, which can be a problem in the Premier League. Victor Lindelof is 30 years old. He's calm on the ball and decent positionally. But he lacks physicality and can be bullied by strong forwards. Lainery Yoro is 19 years old. Huge potential. Fast, athletic, good technical ability. But young and inexperienced. Still learning. Where does Ramos fit into that? He brings more experience than anyone.